Today, our 5-minute herbal is about the benefits of garden basil on childbirth and labor experiences. So this in Spanish is albahacar, which actually comes from the Arabic word and the language that was brought by the Moors to Spain, albahacar. And here it's known in Belize as barsley. So this is a branch from my garden that I took today. And I just wanted to relate the story of an experience that I had in Guanajuato, Mexico. I was doing interviews with various traditional healers for the book Medicinal Plants of Northern Guanajuato of Mexico, which is in both English and Spanish. And so I talked to a lady who was in her 70s, and she told me the experience of having her last and 11th baby at home by herself. Even though she had had 11 babies before, this labor seemed to be very difficult and very different than all the others. And as most of us know, the woman knows when this labor is different than others, which is a sign, something to pay attention to. So what she decided to do after 8 hours of labor alone at home, and because usually her past 7 or 8 labors had been over in 2 or 3 hours. So she hobbled herself out to the garden, picked this much of a basil plant with the flowers. If it doesn't have flowers, that's okay. This one happens to have. And so did the one that she picked. She boiled it all up in a liter of water and she drank it all very hot. And she said within 30 minutes, the baby just fell out with one big push and the baby was out. So I've heard other ladies in Central America tell me that this is one of the herbs that they like to use for pre-labor, during labor, and then postpartum. So it's a very, very useful tea for women at that stage and phase of life. It eases the labor pains. It makes the uterus more responsive to the messages from the nervous system for that opening and expansion, and then the muscular contractions that help the baby to pass through the vaginal canal. So it would be a liter and about this much of the plant. That's about 13 or 14 inches, one full branch, and then boil for 5 minutes covered. Let it steep for 5 minutes, and then the lady should drink all of it as hot as possible. We would also use this as a postpartum vaginal steam. This is actually the go-to plant for vaginal steams here in Central America, or as we now call them, yoni steams. So like other plants for yoni steams, this one has a lot of essential oils from that delightful aroma of basil. It's Basil is the active principle among others. So we would use, again, this much, boil into a large pot, say maybe a 2-quart pot, boil that for 5 minutes, steep, covered, always covered, boiling, covered, steep, covered for 5 minutes, and then the lady would sit under the steaming herbs with everything from the waist down removed and a blanket spread all around to maintain the steam coming in. And also make sure that the feet are on something warm or they're wearing good, thick socks. Wool socks would be the best. So that's our 5-minute herbal on basil, albahacar, and its Latin name, Ocimum basilicum. Ocimum basilicum. Thanks very much. Tune in again. This was fun.